So we've got another motivation, inspirational interview today. It's a pleasure for me and a pleasure, hopefully, for everybody as well that's supported us through this program. And we continue these motivation, inspirational 2023 interviews. We've now done 150 or more interviews with so amazing people. And today we've got somebody so special. And we met last year, I think, at the Superhero Series, playing wheelchair basketball, taking part in the Superhero Triathlon for Sophie Warner. Briony May Williams. Pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for doing the interview. I'm so happy. It's amazing. Please introduce yourself, but also tell me your story and how it all began for you, and especially baking as well. So please, over to you, Briony.
Oh, thanks so much. Well, it's lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me on. So I was on the 2018, 5 years ago this year, series of the Great British Bake Off. Managed to make it to semi-finals, which was a miracle in my eyes. And then I went back to win the Christmas one the following year, which was amazing. But yeah, I started baking back in 2013. I was off work. I was a teacher before Bake Off. I taught French and Spanish at secondary school. And I was off work for about 9 months. And they couldn't figure out what was wrong. Kept getting misdiagnosed, and it was actually, and I'm not very good at not doing anything. Like, even though I felt really unwell, I still needed something to keep my mind occupied. So the nurse at my school said, "Oh, why don't you try baking or knitting or crocheting or something?" And I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure, I'll give it a go." So I tried crocheting and made a few hats. That was all right. But I started baking, and I started really kind of basic, making flapjacks and shortbread and little cakes. And I mean, some of the first things I made were absolutely awful. They were just so bad. But I kept at it, and then I started making cakes for people, like sort of novelty cakes, and kind of went from there, really. And a lot of people had always said to me, "Oh, you should apply to Bake Off, blah blah blah." And I was like, "No, don't be daft. I'll never get on there. I'm not good enough." And then I applied and got on. I was like, "No way." I think it's just one of those life lessons that if you don't try, you'll never know. Because I genuinely didn't think I'd get on. So yeah, and then life's been very different ever since.
Fantastic. I mean, talking about your career and where you've gone from at the beginning to where you are now, I mean, who motivates and inspires you and gives you that passion to really push yourself?
I mean, I always say, like, the number one inspiration in my life has always been my mum. She's an incredible woman. My parents split up when I was 8. And it was all very amicable and everything. And, we still saw my dad, but my mum was essentially, she was a single mother with 3 kids. We didn't have loads of money. And she always made it work. She never felt, she never left us wanting for anything or feeling like we were wanting for anything. There was so much love in our house. It was always such a happy place to be. And all my friends would always come over to my house because it was just a warm and welcoming place. And I think for me, my mum has always shown such generosity and kindness, and she still does. So she's 70 now, and she's retired, but she still looks after our kids and mine and my brother's kids. She's chief grandparent. She looks after them. We call her the third parent because she's literally, I wouldn't be able to do any of what I do without her help. She's just one of those people who can't do enough for you, and I can ring her, and at the drop of the hat, she'll just be like, "Right, what do you need?" And I just think she's amazing, and I think that for me, that kindness that she shows has been something that I have tried to take on throughout my life. And she from when I was very little, so I was born without any fingers on my left hand. And growing up, if there was ever anything I couldn't do, she'd be like, "Right, well, let's figure out a way around it. Like, let's figure out a way that you can do it. It doesn't have to be the way that everyone else does." And for me, that has always motivated me to just crack on, like with baking, with driving, riding a bike, whatever. I just sort of look at it and go, right, how can I make this work for me? And people always say, "Oh, how do you get on baking with your hand?" And I'm like, I don't really think about it. Like, I just, sometimes, like, when I realize, like, I'm holding something in my mouth and like also holding something, like balancing on my left hand, and then and I'm like, "Oh, that's how I do it." But she's never let me kind of, say, "Oh, I can't do that, I can't do it." And I learned to tie my shoelaces at the same time as my older brother, who's got 2 fully functioning hands. Which I like to remind him of a lot, Andy. I'm not going to lie. what siblings do. So yeah, so she for me has always been the person behind me, kind of saying, "You can do this. Like, you know, you can do anything." And I know she's so proud, bless her. Like, especially when I got on Bake Off, and she couldn't tell anyone for like 6 months. We were filming and all that kind of stuff, and then the day that they released our names, she was going through the Costa drive-through, and she said to the guy serving her, she was like, "You watch Bake Off?" And he was like, "No." He was like, "My daughter's on it this year." He was like, "Okay." It's this crazy lady. But yeah, she's always believed in me from when I was born. So yeah, she's my number one.
That's fantastic, because obviously, we talk about motivation, inspiration in the community, and trying to support others. And we run an organisation called Make Change that goes into schools, colleges, universities, and working with different groups in the community to look at inclusive, adaptive sport. But always that mantle of saying that we want our children to express themselves, and by giving them that opportunity to play different sports, that especially from wheelchair basketball, that really supports that. And then they go out and think, well, if I can play it, they can play it, then you can achieve anything. And I think that's really important nowadays. So, I mean, if from a motivation and inspiration point of view to you, why is it so important to support others in the community now with regards to where we're going?
Oh, I mean, it's never been more important. I think, we live in a pretty scary world. And there's nothing better, I think, that you can do than show another person kindness and support. It's what I teach my daughter. She's 7, and she's one of the kindest little humans I've ever met. And that, all her friends and her teachers say it, and you just think, I've done it right there. Like, she's going to grow up to look after other people, and support other people. And it's really hard to ask for help, which is why sometimes if you show that support without being asked, you're help you're giving so much to that person who maybe didn't feel like they could ask for help, or were embarrassed to ask for help. Or I'm very guilty of that. I never ask for help. I just kind of crack on and do it. But sometimes I wish I had maybe done that and got that support. But I think being inclusive and supporting the community and that we're in, there's just I don't think there's anything more important.
Absolutely. It's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously, thinking from a disability point of view, and we work with a lot of young people, and I suppose in a way you think about it, because they don't see a disability, they just see a human being. And then obviously you get this cringe moment where they ask these questions because they see somebody maybe in the street or in school. So, and as you said, why are you missing digits on your hand, or why are you missing the foot? Why are you missing? And that cringe moment from an adult point of view goes, why are you asking those type of questions? but it's
Yeah.
but it's the thing is, and we keep saying this to our young people, and especially about their potential. If we don't ask these questions, we're never going to find out, and we're never going to break down those barriers towards stigma, understanding, and awareness to support the community.
Yeah, I mean, I get kids asking me all the time, well, "What happened to your hand?" And I used to be a teacher, so I mean, I'm fully used to it. I'd stand up at the beginning of the year to all my classes and be like, "Right, this is what happens to my hand. You can ask me any questions that you want. You can stare at this desk, and then you just got to get over it." And they were like, "Okay." Like I was just looking this here. That I buy my daughter toys like this. Have you seen these?
Okay, yeah.
Barbie with a prosthetic. Isn't she cool? So like my daughter, like little things like that. Like if she sees someone with a prosthetic, she's like, "Oh, cool, they've got a prosthetic." Like it doesn't register in her head as anything other than that it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think it's good that kids ask questions. How, like you say, how else are they going to learn?
Yeah.
I think it's down to the individual person as to whether they, want to respond and, feel they can. But I'm always happy for kids or even grown-ups to ask me about it, to be honest.
Thank you, Briony. I mean, we talk about obviously inclusion and diversity in the community, and so how do we build on that? And we talk about we want young people to ask questions and express themselves, but how do we build on resilience to support them as well as us and moving forward in the community?
Gosh, it's hard. I mean, it's such a big question, isn't it? Like, I think the education is the main thing in terms of educating people around, people with disabilities or, or any kind of, minority group. It's all about education. If people understand the situation and, they're aware of it and they understand the language that they should be using and, you know, the prejudices that they might have, whether they're aware of them or not. You know, really it's almost like it shouldn't have to come from the people within the community. They have to be resilient because of the world that we live in. Actually, it should come from outside, and they should be learning and educating themselves, and making the world a better and more accessible place for the people in the community. But, you know, we don't live in a perfect world, so that doesn't always happen.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you're ambassador for Bristol. Excuse me. So you're ambassador for Bristol Mind and Reach and Paul's Place, and you know you support sports relief, and you've done 5Ks. Yeah, you're doing the London Marathon next year for the Great Ormond Street Hospital.
This year, I'm doing it in 2 months, Andy.
We might see each other, because obviously I'm not in this year's London Marathon, but obviously I am. They have asked me to be an ambassador to support that as well. Hopefully next year I'll get a place to support that. Talking about, you know, obviously your baking, but also those type of activities that you do and supporting, you know, these organisations. Why is it so important to really showcase and highlight that?
I just think, you know, it shines a spotlight. You know, I've been blessed, and I'm very lucky to have a platform. You know, Bake Off has given me a platform. You know, I've got a, you know, I would say quite a large social media following, and I'm now on TV. And I think there's a responsibility almost that, you know, and it's not just a responsibility. I want to be there to support these charities and to meet people. You know, I've met some of the kids from Reach, and the importance of meeting someone, a grown up who has the same disability as them, who they recognise in themselves, is beyond important. It's about having these, you know, these people in sort of, you know, it's all about exposure, so they can see you on the TV, they can see you, you know, supporting a charity like that. And it's, you know, when I first started out, I was so nervous about even using the word disabled in reference to myself. Whereas now, you know, I'll shout it from the rooftops. I'm very proud to be part of this community. And I think, you know, if I can even help one person who might look at their hand and go, oh, I don't know, I feel uncomfortable about it. Because when I grew up in the 80s, there was nothing, absolutely zero. My mum didn't have any support. You know, I didn't have much support apart from Reach, which have been an amazing charity for years. But I just think it's so important to give something back and just be, you know, be there, for people to be aware of, you know, people like you exist and can do stuff. You know, they can bake it, they can do
absolutely
things.
And you know, you've got numerous accolades, and you know, you've been on numerous TV shows, and you know, you're part of Escape to the Country now, as one of their presenters. You know, so you know, that's amazing, and it's a great ambassador to support, obviously, people with disabilities, our community as well, but also the community in general, to normalise, obviously, and be part of that community where it really now stands out that everybody, regardless of a disability or non-disability, can actually come together. What would your message be to young people in the community who have been through trauma or are going through trauma or impacting issues, disability, crisis, conditions, issues, mental health, or just having a bad day? I mean, what would Briony May Williams' message be to support where they go next?
Ask for help. Like, reach out and ask for help. If you don't have help close to you, like with your family or your friends, you know, reach out to a charity like Mind or Reach, or, you know, there are so many wonderful charities out there, and organisations, that there will always be someone who will want to listen and who will want to help you. You know, we are getting better, I think, at supporting each other. We've still got a long way to go. But I would say, number one, always ask for help. Like, it doesn't make you any less of a person. Just, you know, ask for help if you need it, especially when it comes to mental health. You know, I've suffered with depression since my late teens. And it took me telling my best friend I basically told her to go away, but in not very pleasant way, for me to do that, for her to say, you need to ask for help, there's something going on. And I was like, you're right, there is. And then I went to my doctor and I got the help that I needed. But I didn't want to do that because I felt embarrassed, I felt ashamed, I felt, you know, I can do this on my own. So for me, that's one thing. And just keep going. Like, things do get better. You know, especially when you join, you know, community projects and you know, just people online, you know, groups online, it does get better. And just kind of challenge yourself. Like, you know, you've got the wonderful things like the superhero series, you know, set yourself little goals, little things to be motivated for. So, you know, I'm training for the marathon at the minute, but rather than just being like, oh, I've got a marathon to run, you know, I challenge myself, right, get to 5K, then go from there. So I got to 5K, right, get to 12K, okay, or get to 10K and go from there. You know, it's each step, each day is you know, is a success.
I like that. Thank you. That, I mean, it is interesting, and as you say, it is about changing yourself and also pushing through the barriers. And I think you're right. It's, you know, recently there was, you know, we had the campaign Time to Talk, and I think, you know, we've got to open up to the opportunity to talk to people and obviously share those kind of stories about, I've got OCD. You know, my disability has impact on me previously, but I'm still trying to learn with it and, you know, find that focus. You know, and it is interesting and you know, but I think as you get older and also look from a different aspect of life, you understand things a bit more. And I think then becomes a responsibility. How can I readjust myself, have that calm and support my family, but also they support me and really push forward in the community as well. With regards to, as you say, to your own experiences, take care of your mental well-being as part of your daily life, and how does this build on your resilience and determination?
It's tough. Like, mental health can be incredibly challenging. You know, I'm going through quite a difficult time with it at the minute. But it's literally getting through like hour by hour, I find. Like, you know, can I get to lunchtime and just, you know, can I do little things? So it's having, like I said before, about having, you know, little goals. It works like that in day-to-day life as well. You know, get out of bed, get dressed, brush your teeth. Right, these are 3 successful things you've done today. Well done. You know, don't beat yourself up if you're not gonna, you know, have an incredibly productive day. Just getting out of bed, you know, and washing yourself can sometimes be an incredible challenge. But yeah, just getting through it bit by bit. For me, running, exercise is so important. And I wish I'd realised this earlier. I didn't realise this till my 30s. But exercise is actually really good for your mental health. Who knew? You know, I went all through university, all through my late 20s, just, you know, not realising what it can do. But actually getting outside into nature, going for a, you know, a walk, a run, you know, just getting someone to take you out and just be in the outside world, even if it's minging and raining and horrible. Just get out there, and the difference it can make is really quite extraordinary. I'm a firm believer in that now, and I really wish I'd known it earlier.
Thank you for sharing that, Briony. I mean, you know, I've got a question from Clifton Primary School, and you probably know Owen Lamprey. Owen was that superhero series as well, and Owen's asked, at Clifton Primary School, we currently run the first school-based This Mum Runs program.
Oh, I love This Mum Runs, yeah.
And we are a lead superhero tri school. What advice do you have for us developing the program, and what social and physical benefits do they bring?
I mean, This Mum Runs are an amazing community. They actually helped me get into running. And when I tell you I wasn't a runner, Andy, I was not a runner. Like, I could barely run 50 meters. But with the help of, you know, their community runs and the Couch to 5K app, which they have their own version of now, which is amazing, you know, it built up. And I think when it comes to like schools and things like that, I think getting the parents involved is huge. You know, trying to encourage them, because if kids see their parents doing something, they want to do it. Like, you know, my daughter came out for a run with me the other week because she'd seen me going out for runs and wanted to see what I was doing and what was going on. And I think that's important, getting the wider community involved, and just basically showing them like the benefits of exercise and of how this can help you, you know, stay happy, stay well, not just physically but mentally as well. You know, get people in to talk to the kids, to share their experiences. There's so many people out there who would gladly, you know, I would, you know, go in and talk to them about it. Because I think when kids hear from real people who have really gone through it, they sort of, they take it on more than if their teacher just told them a story, or, this is what happened kind of thing.
Thank you. I mean, we talk about obviously going to schools, and yeah, we go into schools as well on a regular basis and support young people. But yeah, as I said before, the thing is, we're trying to promote that motivation, inspiration. I like to bake, and I haven't baked a cake in a while, and my wife says, when you bake a cake, you have to do it with love.
So true, so true.
Thinking about, obviously, from our point of view, and we do after school clubs as well, and we're really pushing that idea. And what we're finding is, in the economic situation that we're in as well, and we talk about, families in low income and struggling to feed themselves. And, there's been conversations, how can you pay for a sport if you can't feed yourself? Do we move forward regards to, because what we're trying to offer now is an incentive. And as a child, and many years ago, I mean, I don't know, you probably had the same experience, that when I leave school, the first thing that my mum used to take me is, do you want to get a snack from the shop?
Yeah.
And I think what we've done and what we've seen with our other community as well, that part of after school clubs now, or wake up clubs, is that incentive is actually feeding that child to let them have something to eat, but also then play sport as well. You find that, is that something that's part of a project now that's going to support that, or is that kind of an incentive now that we need to build on?
Yeah, I think so. I think, kids are like sponges. So if you, educate them and tell them that, exercise will do will do good things for you in so many ways, then they accept that. They will take it all in. I love my mum, but she wasn't big on exercise. So growing up, I didn't really see the value in it. Whereas now, me and my husband, we both run, we both exercise. So my daughter sees the value in it. It's all about having some kind of role model or person, adult in your life telling you and showing you the benefits of it. So, if there's, and kids will do anything for a snack, like literally anything. So if there's the incentive that, they'll get their snack, but they have to, do some exercise first and, have a bit of fun with it. It doesn't have to be running. It can be, just making sure that they're getting their heart rate up and they're, enjoying themselves. Then I mean, bribery is the way forward, in my opinion, when it comes to parenting. So, I don't see why that can't work on a grand scale.
Thank you, Brian. We have a quick fire round. I brought this quick fire round in towards the end of 2022. And we've it's something that our audience seem to like.
Yeah.
So 5 quick questions.
All right.
And we have to race through them as quickly as we can. But
okay.
The last question is quite a long one as well. So it relates to your superhero power.
Okay.
So, Briony May Williams, are you ready for our quick fire round?
I'm ready. Hit me.
Okay. So, what is your favourite food?
Bread and butter.
Favourite drink?
Diet Coke.
Favourite film or TV show?
Schitt's Creek.
Okay. Favourite music?
Boy bands.
If you had a superhero power, what would that be and why?
Kindness. So ability to touch people on the forehead and it makes them instantly kinder.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. We have 2 final questions, Briony. So what is the future goal for Briony May Williams?
I want to be on Strictly, Andy.
I'd love to be on Strictly. I don't think I'll get the call.
I'd love to be on Strictly for many reasons. Obviously, the sequins is up there, but it's just another challenge that would be amazing. I don't know how to dance. In the in the strictest form of the word. So I'd love to. It's just another challenge, like running the marathon this year, and then I just would love to do it. I think it'd be an incredible experience.
Thank you. I mean, we did go to watch Strictly live, and that was the experience. We were right at the front, and my wife loves Strictly so much. It's and to be fair, she said, "Well, you only want to go because you enjoy it more than me." Went, well, maybe. But yeah, I think that's a great thing to do. Our last question is, obviously, if you could think of a quote, and we've used this question throughout our motivation interview since the start of the pandemic. If you could think of a quote to support motivation and inspiration, what would that quote be and why?
Okay, so I had a good think about this because I think if you haven't, so I've got my phone out. Charlie Mackesy, you heard of him?
No.
The guy who wrote, I always get the name of this book wrong. It's like The Boy, the Horse.
Oh, yes.
The Fox and the Dog or something like that. I always get the name. But anyway, it's really popular. It is one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. And every page says something meaningful, motivational, you know, and I just, whenever I'm feeling a bit sort of like, oh, just don't know if I can, I think that's one of the books. And it's great for kids as well because it's simple and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I've got a few quotes from that.
Okay.
They're really short. So, what is the bravest thing you've ever said? Asked the boy. Help, said the horse. So that's what we were talking about earlier. And then, this is getting harder, sighed the boy. Then every step you take is a bigger victory. And the last one, sometimes said the horse. Sometimes what, asked the boy. Sometimes just getting up and carrying on is brave and magnificent.
Fantastic, thank you.
So I think that book's just full of very helpful.
I saw the dramatisation. I think it was last Christmas.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And, you know, I had a tear in my eye. It was really.
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from. So thank you. Briony, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for doing the interview.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
I will go and bake a cake.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, as I say, you've got to put that love into baking, and you know, the annoying thing, as I said, I've got OCD, and there's like everything has to have its place. But yeah, when I'm baking, it's like, yeah, let me bake in peace.
Yeah, and you know what? I've got to say, baking for your mental health is also really good because it's very methodical. You have to follow a recipe, and you get something at the end of it. I do think I very much believe in the mental health benefits of baking.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you at Superhero Series last year, and I hope you enjoyed wheelchair basketball.
I did. I loved it. It was amazing.
And again, as I say, thank you so much for doing the interview. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. You know, another major kind of breakthrough for us regards to, you know, talking to so many inspirational people, and especially Briony May Williams. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andy.